All right. Here we are, finally doing it.
Yes, we are. Finally
getting our own podcast going. Little Albumholics. We're just going to fucking pick artists, go through discography, and do it.
Rank their albums and, point out what our favorite songs are.
I mean, it's no different. I mean, you'll find out later as we keep probably referencing this one band. We're both big Megadeth fans.
Yeah.
We both really like sitting around and ranking our own Megadeth albums. So we're like, well, shit. We both like that. And we're both kind of like, we both really like bands for their singles, not really like their deep dives.
Yep.
And then, we were talking the other day about a lot of Megadeth's best songs are the deep cuts.
Yep.
Psychotron,
Tears in a Vial.
Tears in a Vial, yeah, that's a great one. But, so we thought, well, with singles, we want to listen to more deep. And I bet you a bunch of other bands have deep cuts that are just as good. So we're like, why don't we put these two things together and we'll listen to one band, the whole discography, and we'll get together and we'll just talk about them in a podcast or something, just for fun.
Yeah, just to hear each other's opinions and what we think of each band,
And so for our first episode, which, man, I can't believe we're finally here doing it.
Yeah.
We chose Canadian thrash metal band Annihilator.
One of the big four in Canadian thrash, ones that started it all back in the 80s.
And, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know much about Annihilator coming in.
I really didn't know much either. I knew that their first album was highly acclaimed. I never really listened to it except for the title song. But it was great to finally check these guys out and listen to what they've been putting out over the years.
Yeah, like you said, the only thing I haven't really heard by them was Alice in Hell. But, I don't even think we've ever seen them in concert, and we've seen a bunch of bands they would have toured with.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen them in
it's
concert.
crazy, though. I was reading something about that where on one of their 2010 albums, they had played a support gig for it in, I think, Montreal or something. That was the first time since 93 that they had played in North America.
Oh, Jesus.
And they are a North American band.
Yeah.
But,
those outside North American countries probably pay a lot better.
Yeah, and it's just easier to tour around them, right? The U.S. is big. There's a lot of area in the middle you don't really get to.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
Just look at population graphs. We say it's a band, but it's kind of more like a solo project just for the one guy, right?
Yeah. Guitarist and sometimes singer, sometimes bassist. All over the
but
place.
Never drummer.
Guy. Yeah, never
drummer.
Jeff Waters, the only original founding member left on Annihilator.
Going through these albums, though, one, I'll give him credit because, again, big Megadeth fans can sell out. Dave, please retweet our podcast or something. He writes, 90% of Megadeth stuff,
Yeah.
So you see a lot of that, too. But, listen to, all these albums. I see why, Jeff Waters, even though Annihilator's not the biggest band. Obviously we said Canadian thrash metal big four.
Yep.
Not just big four. It's like a great secondary place,
Yeah.
I see why he's just a big influence to a lot of people,
Yeah.
Even for bands we like, for new and coming, because the dude can play.
Yeah, he is an amazing guitarist, and I'm surprised I never really paid attention when I saw his name on lists. But going through all these albums and listening to everything, all solos and riffs and everything, this dude can play.
And again, going back to something I read, why we don't really hear about him or why we didn't associate his name, is, and again too, like I was saying, where they only played that one show.
Yep.
For a while, he was telling a story about it's 20 years in the band, right? About how they don't really get any press in North America. And he was talking about, they're this a big band in Canada, right? They're the top selling of all time metal artist in Canada.
Yep.
And he was talking about how he was reading the paper or something, and there was a journalist who was talking about send me your band, and maybe we can get you an interview. And it was a lot of unsigned bands, And he emailed the guy, and Jeff Waters did, and he was like, hey, I'm Annihilator, biggest metal selling band in Canada.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, well, maybe just, send me your CD and I'll check it out. And the dude never got back to him. Think about that.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, I've been carrying the Canadian metal torch for 20 years around the globe, and this local paper who just does unsigned artists
wouldn't even
give me a
recognize
minute.
me. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a lot why, I don't think we've heard about him. Most people I talk to that listen to metal, too, have only really heard Alice in Hell
Yeah.
off their first album.
Yep.
Alice in Hell.
Yeah, Alice in Hell, yeah.
But also, dear God, did I not realize they had 17 albums for some reason.
I didn't either. This was on my list of bands that I've always wanted to check out, and I honestly didn't know that they had this many albums when I chose them, but I think it was a great start.
Yeah, for me too. Honestly, never really hearing them. Hearing of them, I kind of thought they were one of those metal bands that lived and died in the mid to late 80s to early 90s, and that was it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were still carrying that torch today, but
going strong still. They just actually, their most recent release was in 2020.
Yeah. Well, should we get into it?
Yeah.
You want to kick us off? First album, Alice in Hell. We've been name dropping it so far.
Yeah.
Got to be a banger, right?
Yeah, their debut album.
Oh, and before we forget to get into it, apparently I didn't write any notes for this album, so we're just going to spitball this thing. I wrote a grade, and that's it. We're doing these albums graded on a D to S scale. S being the highest, D being the lowest. And I'm going to be honest with you. I have zero musical talent, but I can be a critic because I have an opinion, so that just marries me in there.
Same for me.
So most of these grades aren't going to be on they're just going to be on how we felt about the album.
Yeah, our first impressions and songs that we liked. I mean, we're not professional critics, reviewers out here,
I mean, anybody with an opinion can be a critic, though. And, hey, we got 2 of those, baby.
Fair enough.
So I wanted to give the albums more than one listen. I definitely did less note taking than you, I think, here.
Yeah, I went through every song and at least wrote something for every song.
Yeah, I just kind of gave the albums a once-over. And then gave my grade there. Again, I guess I just didn't write anything for Alice in Hell. I gave it a grade, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's because when I started, where I was planning on, I'm going to go back and listen to these a few times. And then they had 17 albums. And they're all like an hour long.
Yeah.
And then we set a hard date on this, and I was like, I'm struggling just to get through them one time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of know vaguely what I want to listen, or what I want to list off, but so let's get into it. Want to do grades first? How do we want
to? Yeah, let's go ahead and do our grades first. See what we rank this album.
All right. So I gave this album a C.
You gave it a C.
I gave it a C, and I'm gonna tell you why. The instruments fucking ruled. They were great. Alice in Hell is a great album or song.
Mm-hmm.
But dear God, were the vocals just not something I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And there was times in this album where I couldn't tell if it was the instruments holding the vocals back or the vocals holding the instruments back.
That's fair. Yeah, I understand.
I mean,
what you're saying there.
I really wish I would have wrote some more notes, but that's all I got. That's really what I remember. Again, Alice in Hell. You know what? Actually, I do have some notes. I just didn't click on them. Technology. It's hard, man. Yeah, no. So, great instrumentals, what I put down. Okay, vocals. Definitely felt like an 80s thrash album, I would say.
Yep.
You can definitely see it influenced a lot, and it took a lot of influences from early, Metallica and
yeah,
Megadeth. Because this is 89, so this is like Injustice is all Metallica territory.
No, I thought, oh wow, yeah, it is 89. Holy crap.
Yeah, so this is kind of late to the 80s thrash game. Obviously, because it's the last year of the 80s.
Yep.
But you can definitely tell it takes a lot from Slayer and the Big Four.
Yep.
Shout out to Testament, the real 4th member of the Big Four. Anyways. A lot of the songs kind of blended together for me, though.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of what I'm saying right now is going to be a lot of what I'm going to touch on throughout our next 16 albums.
Just want to emphasize.
Come on, Jeff Waters. You had to do your boy like that, huh? What else? Dude. Now, I'm not saying I'm the greatest lyricist. I'm not even saying I am a lyricist.
Yep.
But I'm not sure Jeff Waters is the greatest lyricist either.
Some of the songs were kind of cheesy, and
yeah,
they didn't really flow that
brings me to my next point: is what the hell was "Burns Like a Buzzsaw"? like,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Of course, it's catchy.
Yeah.
But what the hell was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm just hit. This is the last note I put down. We can get some of yours. I don't know how. Alice in Hell, WTYD stand out as probably the top songs for me from the album.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, I think you made a lot of great valid points. At least a lot of things, same things that I saw in this album. I gave it personally a B. I do think that it is a very strong, first album coming out into the thrash gang or the thrash genre. I really liked the mixing on it. Like I really liked that they had, you could really hear the bass on a lot of the songs, and it was a little higher pitched, so you could really point it out.
Which is something you don't hear. I mean, again, shout out to another 1989 album, Unjustice for All, with no bass.
Yeah.
Was that 80?
It was 89. Time. Yeah.
No bass whatsoever. So, that year, hard year for bass.
Yeah, I know.
Hard year for people named Jason Newsted, too. Anyways.
But yeah, like you were saying, I think the guitar work on this album was fantastic, From the first two songs, Crystal Ann and Alice in Hell, I thought, especially Crystal Ann, thought that was an amazing, melodic intro. I really liked it. Album was also really technical, You listen to the solos, and some of the riffs are pretty difficult, So those were all highlights of the album. I did think it was a little inconsistent. I thought it started off, really melodic and, thrashy, eerie, and then it goes, and then it completely changes, and it's like speed metal,
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if they would have, I don't know really where I'm trying to say what would make it better, but I just think it should have stuck with one,
Right. No, I agree. Although I definitely feel like, and I feel like we'll find this out with later albums.
Yep.
Sometimes just sticking to that one thing though hurts, But I do agree with you. The album did feel all over the place.
Yep.
I definitely had it as a B first go through. This is the only album I had time to sit down. That's not true. There's one other album to go through.
Yeah.
And the second, I think I listened to this 3 times. Still, it's just the vocals just kept holding it down for me.
Okay.
But that's all right. I mean, again, as we kept kind of reminding ourselves over text, you don't have to like everything, right?
Yep.
Like, it's all right. And, reason we don't give out F's because I don't really think there's a bad album, right?
Yeah.
Because people still put their heart and soul into it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, everybody has their own opinion on what they think is great. And, some people think that this might be the best metal album, released, that decade in the 80s or whatever,
I mean, shit. Again, shout out to Megadeth. We know how highly I rank So Far, So Good, So What.
Yeah.
Which is not normally a very high ranked Megadeth album.
Yep. But my top songs for this album were Alice in Hell, WTYD, and World Salad. It was kind of a surprise. I was like, this is...
I did hear that was a big song. Like, it still played on the side list.
Yeah. I thought it had a nice intro. It's... that little interlude in the middle with, the bass really taking the spotlight there. And it was a good solo in my opinion, It just kind of was like, surprise song right here. I didn't like Wicked Majestic. I just thought it was just like an okay song, kind of like a filler, but.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, so.
But yeah, B, thought it was a great first album here, so
what do we have up next?
So next album from 1990 was called Never Neverland.
You want to take this one first?
Sure. So I gave this album also a B. And after I had done all of these albums and kind of did my own rankings, I saw a lot of reviews and others that put this album as their best album.
Really?
And I personally don't think that this is Annihilator's best album.
No, me either.
I can understand why. But going through and listening to it, I really did like the first 3 songs. Or, no, sorry. I wasn't really a fan of the first 3 songs. It kind of was like just kind of average. It was good. Just thrash.
Yeah.
Nothing really that I could get into. But then, like Stonewall hit, and I really liked that song.
Did you?
Yeah. I thought it was, the lyrics were pretty good. It had, little melodic parts here and there, and I thought it had really good solo in it. That was the first song that I liked on there. I didn't like 6s and 7s. I was kind of like, the lyrics were just like, what am I listening to? I just did not feel that song at all.
Yeah, sure.
But going down, Never Neverland was, was all right. Nice little melodic parts in here. Imperiled Eyes, is okay.
Yeah, it's definitely an okay song. I thought, but
yeah, and then comes Craft Dinner, and that was one of my favorite songs on the album.
Yeah.
I was completely surprised by that, and I was like, I love this song.
I have Craft Dinner. It's one of my notes. It's like it just gave me a good chuckle.
Yeah,
and it's great to see a metal band. They don't always take themselves so serious.
Yeah, exactly. They have fun with it.
Yeah, which it was. Just, I don't know. When I was listening to that song, I was like, "Is this really what I think it's about?"
Yeah. Yep.
And because when I read it on the track list, I was like, maybe it's Diner,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's about something, right?
Yeah.
And then I listened to it,
and you're like, nope, it's actually about macaroni and cheese.
Yeah,
Craft Dinner.
It's funny.
So yeah, I really was surprised, and I really enjoyed that song. So
that's fair.
And then Phantasmagoria was another song that I liked that song.
Yeah, I don't have that on my list, but I did like it.
Yeah,
it was good. I heard that was one of the original songs they wrote when they were kind of coming up. Like, hey,
yeah, I think it was
it was one of the first demos they had.
Yeah, it was like their first EP or something. Yep.
Yeah, which then didn't end up on the first record, obviously, because you were talking about second. But yeah, it was just a decent song.
Yeah. So yeah, I gave this album a B. I think it was still very technical. It was a very hard album to play. It was good thrash, I think, throughout. Some of the songs I really, just really didn't click with me, but I did like some of the songs on here, and I do think the lyrics overall did improve, throughout the album compared to the first album. So
yeah, I don't know about that last part, but so I gave this album another C.
Okay.
Again, I had same thing you did. Solid instruments again. Man, some of these songs had just killer openings. Maybe not maybe not the whole song, but the openings
were
just top tier. But once again, that held the record back for me. And it's a different singer, so it's not just this one singer I'm shitting on. The vocals and lyrics, just, man, outside of like Craft Dinner and the Fathom 4, the lyrics were just weren't that great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to write songs, let alone 17 albums worth of songs.
Yeah.
But, just a weak spot. And this is going to be something I come back to on most albums, except for a few. Vocals the more I was listening to this, I realized to me that vocals are a huge part of what makes, which if anybody's listening to this, and we just said we were big Megadeth fans, and now I'm saying vocals is a huge part of it for me.
Yeah.
And I'll touch on this again in another album. There's a difference between a vocalist, like Dave, and just a singer, like what a lot of these early ones were.
Yep.
And they don't always mix. You can be thrash and great, and you can sing and great, but not everyone's going to mix like a Bruce Dickinson or Rob Halford, Judas Priest.
Yep.
Sometimes you just need a good vocalist, which is what Dave is. And
in our opinions, yeah.
Yeah, and so again, vocals just a big part to me, and I'm going to touch on that for a lot of these albums.
Yep.
Unlike you though, I really did enjoy 7 and 6s. Lyrics weren't great.
Yeah.
Overall song, just structure, vocals and all that. I liked it.
Okay.
It's to put it on my thing, and now the top one I really enjoyed was Never Neverland, like you touched on.
Yeah.
But other than that, to me, the album
is okay.
It was okay. Again, better vocalist. Probably would have bumped it up both of these early albums to a B for me.
Yeah.
But the next album, no?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we touched on everything, right? Next album is their only major record album. And I think it was Sony, which was Set the World Afire.
In 1993, yeah.
I gave this a D.
You gave it a D.
I gave it a D.
Really?
There was not a single song on this I enjoyed.
Are you serious?
I was serious.
Huh.
The vocals were a little bit better. Again, he had a different singer.
Yep.
You're going to say this a lot about Jeff Waters' Annihilator.
Went through a lot of musicians in this band throughout its history.
Yeah, if you don't believe us, just go to the Wikipedia page. They have a timeline that is like 20 people long for how many people played on these albums. I think by album like 9, you have 7 different singers. It's crazy like that. Again, lyrics, weak point. You know, starting to feel like I'm a broken record.
Yeah.
To me, I could tell this was a major label album. This didn't feel like Jeff Waters sitting in the studio by himself.
Yeah.
Recording it.
Yeah, and speaking of major label, I did check and it was Roadrunner.
Roadrunner?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It also definitely sounded like a major, again, like I said, major, but it sounded like a 90s.
Yep.
Major. There was way, to me, almost too many ballads.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I love a good ballad. Who doesn't love a good ballad?
Yep.
I don't love it when you're a thrash metal band, your entire album is ballads.
See, I didn't think this album, it only had 2 actual ballads.
Okay, I know, but a lot of them felt like they were trying to be ballads. And, you know, again, I touched on that, and they really seemed to get away from the speed and thrash of the first 2 albums. It was definitely a slower album.
Yes.
And, I mean, the album just wasn't doing it for me. I don't have that much to say about it because I didn't have any songs I liked.
Yep.
I'm not going to say the songs are bad, but I have no need to ever go back and listen to this album.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think?
All right. So I actually gave this album an A.
Ooh, opposite. Oh, almost opposite.
Yeah, almost
spectrum.
complete opposites here. See, I'm a sucker for, melodic and a lot of, I don't know, just stuff that's kind of slow and sounds really melodic. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that is what a lot of this album had. It still had, some of the thrashiness to it. But I'm not gonna lie, I really did like, the ballad Phoenix Rising, and also the other one, Sounds Good to Me.
It sounded good to you?
Yeah, it sounded good to me.
Yeah.
I thought they were really good, and they were a nice change from, just playing heavy and fast.
Yeah, which is fair. And to me, overall, of Annihilator, that is one of the bigger complaints I'm going to have.
Yeah.
So they don't change it up that much.
In some albums, yes.
Yeah.
I thought, the production value for this album was a lot better than some of the other ones.
Because it's
on a major label. I really like this album. I liked a lot of the songs on here. The only song that I kind of didn't like was Don't Bother Me. It just kind of was... I felt like a filler song. I don't know.
Would you say it bothered you a little bit?
It did.
Okay.
What I was saying before, my top songs for this were Phoenix Rising, Night Jumps Queen, and Brain Dance.
Okay. Night Jumps Queen, and there's a song later, farther down the album, that reminded me of this. Those lyrics are a little fucking cringy. Let's be honest.
I'm not saying they were the best.
No, but
the whole melody of the song.
That's fair.
A good song, so. And Brain Dance was funny, it seemed like it was just those guys messing around and let's just create a song and who cares what it sounds like. I thought it was a good song.
I feel like you don't find that too much later in the Annihilator albums. Like the first 3 albums are definitely different. Yep. And I see why they're 3 big, like the big 3 albums for this band. And, but you don't, a lot of what's coming up doesn't touch on what makes the first 3 great.
Yeah.
Now this is what I like though, that we gave this opposite ends of the spectrum. That's what makes it fun, right?
Yeah.
Because
we may like the same kind of stuff, but our opinions on the individual albums and stuff like that could be completely opposite.
And I mean, nice people don't know, but we see each other every day. We work together too.
Yeah.
And we talk. And it was so hard, I think, when I would finish an album to not just like text you or see you at work and be like, bro,
like, what'd you think of this?
Album, I was like, So this is what I was hoping for right here, where we're just completely different. Like we have a pretty close, similar taste in music for the most part.
Yep.
But it's fun to see these little things where it changes up. Yeah. So what's our next album coming up, man?
All right. Well, the next album is called King of the Kill in 1994. Now this album was definitely a 90s album.
Yeah, that's true.
It took I think this is the first album that they did where Jeff Waters did almost everything on this album.
Yeah, this is the first of 3 straight albums right now to feature Jeff Waters as the vocalist too.
Yep. Yeah, and he did, the guitars, the bass, the vocals. He hired a drummer to do the drums and stuff, but and I thought it was, a pretty decent album. I struggled giving it I'm torn between a C and a B. I liked a lot of the songs on it because I like more melodic songs.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing really in this album that I felt was really memorable.
Okay.
At least in my opinion,
Yeah.
Not really anything that I would be like, I need to have this on my playlist.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I really liked King of the Kill. I really liked Second to None, and I liked the Fiasco song. I thought that was kind of one of those fun songs, just out of nowhere. It did have some nice ballads. I think Bliss was, pretty good. But overall, it was definitely a change. It's not a thrash metal album, in my opinion.
No, I mean, so I had down that it's a solid thrash metal when it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, it's not fully thrash metal.
Yeah.
So
And I think that it goes from like fast to soft to fast to soft, a lot. And I think that can be kind of jarring for some people listening to it for the first time.
That's fair. So I gave this album an A.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And my first point is that I really like the change in vocalists. Again, I know what I like, and I touched on what I touched on earlier. He's not a better singer than they've had in the band, but he is a better vocalist, and I think it fits what they're trying to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe with him singing, it was easier for him to craft like some of the riffs and all that, just the overall flow of the song better, because he knew what he was going to do, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Like you said, the highlights to me, the 2 highlights, King of the Kill, Second to None, definitely would have made my playlist if they were on Spotify. So
oh, yeah.
Would be great if Spotify could get around to putting this on there.
They don't have half their albums on Spotify.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. It's probably because they don't really have any major.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, and they're probably like 7 different indie record companies that own Annihilator albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I touched on this before, too. I honestly can't help but feel like if Jeff Waters had sang the first 2 albums, they would have had higher grades for me. Which I'm not saying that makes, my opinion is all that matters, but
yeah,
to me, that's how I feel like it could have been better. I said a lot of songs felt really tight. Nothing really fell out of place in the album. Like the track listing, all that was great. Like the guitar, the bass, the drums, the vocals, it all felt really tight and good, like it grooved together.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I said, a lot of that could have been that Jeff Waters does most of himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not always the case. We'll find that out later. We get some of these albums that he does himself, but yeah, again, solid album.
Yeah.
What do we got next? We got Refresh the Demon, right?
Yeah, Refresh the Demon.
Oh, man. I don't know what that means, but it is a metal-sounding album.
Yeah, I'm assuming by the title they were, going back to the roots. Let's pick up the demon inside of us and just play fast and, make a metal album,
Because I think, and maybe you can look this up, I think after Never Neverland, they take a hiatus.
I think they do.
And then they come back or they don't come back. Well, they do come back with King of the Kill. But Jeff Waters sees it. And then he's like, he's just like, I kind of want to bring this back. Because, we haven't touched on this with Jeff Waters, but not only is he he's an Annihilator, but he's a pretty sought after producer and writer. He owns his own studio, so that's why, this band has 17 albums because he can just do it himself.
Yep.
Because he's an amazing guitarist. Anyways. Factor Fresh Demon, I don't know if you found it, but
yeah, it was right before the King of the Kill album in '94. Mm-hmm. They took a brief hiatus.
Yeah, so he brings it back. Refresh the Demon. Topic at hand. I gave this album a B.
Okay.
Again, this is the second one to feature Jeff Waters. Great. This song had great riffs.
Yeah.
Just great riffs all over the place.
Yep.
You could pick a song and it just had a great riff.
Yeah.
It was again solid thrash metal album. My cliche note: if I like the album, it says solid thrash metal album. Apparently, man, I don't know. I don't have a ton to say about this album other than I don't know. I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Just putting it on. The album rocked.
Easy listen to.
Crushed out. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have any standout tracks to me. Just the album again. Man, I was sitting out. I want to listen to a good thrash metal album, but I don't really want to pay attention.
Yeah.
I might throw this on.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just put it on the background and just rock out. You got some bros over, you're drinking, you're crushing some beers. Boy, I need some metal. Oh, refresh the demon.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gave this album a C. I didn't think it was too bad. I didn't think it was, very memorable either. I also actually didn't have any standout tracks. I mean, it was just kind of a solid album,
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really that I would put in my playlist at all. Be like, okay, I need to listen to this song. I'm glad it's on here.
That's actually a big thing I had with Annihilator. Is 17 albums. And there's 2 songs I would have put on a playlist. Not counting else. No, that's on most metal playlists, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Not a whole lot of songs I would have put on the play.
Yeah.
I didn't add any songs from Annihilator to my actual playlist that were on Spotify. So I'll just throw that out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I don't
also, they don't have a lot of albums from.
Okay, that's fair
Annihilator
too.
on
That's
there.
fair.
Yeah.
But that, to me, it's not like a negative thing, but I just saying,
Yeah. One thing I did note is that I do think that the album would have been a lot better if it didn't have the last 2 songs. I thought they were a little kind of thrown in there. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of them. I liked everything else up until Voices and Victims and Innocent Eyes. Like
Innocent Eyes was a weird song for me.
Yeah, my notes right here is literally like, what is this song? Like,
yeah, to me, I don't know. It wasn't. It was a different song for a thrash metal band, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it was in a vacuum. I don't think it was a bad song. Actually, I do have one on my notes song. That's Anything for Money. I thought it was a weaker track.
Okay.
Probably the only weaker track. I wasn't a huge fan of Innocent Eyes. But, the right mood, I could groove to it.
Yeah,
I could groove to it. The baby things at the sound at the beginning were a little weird, though.
Oh, yeah, and
Yeah.
a little creepy
Yeah.
sounding. But
I mean, I feel like, I don't know. So I had to listen to this one on YouTube. I don't know if you had to do the same.
Yep.
And, it does a little track listing at the bottom.
And there was one that had without the baby voices or
you
something.
saw that too?
Yeah.
So I was like, what does this sound like originally?
Oh, that's like, oh my
It's
God.
like, come on. All right, that's an interesting choice, Jeff Waters. But, hey.
Keeping it fresh, right?
I feel like he wrote that song like right after he had his first kid.
Oh, yeah.
And then he was like, oh, shit. Being a parent, oh, man, I don't do anything for this kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like every time I'm, a popular band person that writes songs, has a kid, within the next year they have a song about having a kid.
Yeah.
About how great they are. And I'm not saying your kids aren't great. Well, some of your kids aren't great, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Just a funny thing I thought. But that YouTube one was without the baby noises. Like, what was the chorus? Just babies crying? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of that for that band, huh? Or not the band, the album. What's next?
All right. Next album is called Remains from 1997. Now, this one is a very controversial album amongst Annihilator, like their discography.
Yeah, I know why, too.
I personally, I originally gave it a C.
Ooh.
But I raised it up to a B.
You raised it?
Yes. I really liked how just different this album was.
Yeah.
I thought it was very experimental.
Those are exactly how I would describe it.
And I think he did a fairly good job at, just trying new things.
Yes, I mean, he does this whole album himself.
Yep.
With a drum machine.
Yep.
Which I couldn't really tell if you didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked the song's Murder, the first song on there. I thought that was
The cliche metal
yeah
title.
Yep. I also liked Wind and It's You. Those were some of the, slower songs on the album. But, I really liked them. I think I would put those songs on my playlist if they were, on Spotify or something.
I think this album is on Spotify.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure it is. You can't see me, but I'm going over to my computer to look it up. So keep going with what you got.
All right. So, I mean, yeah, I really liked that it was kind of an experimental album. I didn't like the song Human Remains. Just wasn't really a fan of it. It was kind of weird. I thought it was kind of like doom metal. Oh, wow. I guess it is.
Yeah, see?
On Spotify. Huh. I'll have to put that on. Put those songs on my playlist. I did think a lot of this album had some like weird Pantera riffs, sounding riffs.
I mean, it's 97, so Pantera's a huge band at this point.
Yep. Which isn't a bad thing. This album definitely 90s vibe,
Yeah.
with the type of riffs, the sounding of the instruments and things like that. So I thought it was a pretty solid album. Now, when I went through those rankings, of other people and what they thought, it was almost universal that everybody put this album as their least favorite Annihilator album.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
How you feel about Sexecution?
That was an interesting song. I was like, okay, I guess I can kind of get down with the groove a little bit, but the lyrics in that song were a little...
Yeah. All right, so you like this album pretty much, so you'd say?
Yeah.
This is by far Annihilator's worst album. Hot take, not apparently a hot take. I honestly thought about giving this an F, but we don't even go that low. That's how bad I dislike this album. Literally, my first note on my thing is, and I'm going to read this word for word, Holy Mother of God, is this album bad?
Oh my God.
This album sounds so uninspired to me.
Okay.
And so if you listen to the deluxe version, there's an end where Jeff Waters speaks.
Yeah.
And he talks about how he wrote this album because, like we said, it's just him. This is a solo album. It's basically that. This could have just been Jeff Waters' Remains.
Yeah.
But he slapped an island. He was talking about how he wrote this album by just like when it's free time. Hey, my kids are at daycare. I got a few hours. Go to the studio. Write a riff.
Yep.
Hey, I got some free time. Let me go program the drum track. Hey, I got some free time.
Yeah.
My kids are asleep. Let me put on a bass line. That's what it sounds like to me. This album just...
It's kind of put together.
Oh, God. It's a rough album. And you're right. He did say this album was experimental.
Yep.
And he talked a lot, too, in that part where he talks about how his ex-wife at the time was listening to a lot of bands. I forget the other ones, but the only one that stuck out to me was Daft Punk, which... Man, rest in peace to Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Never get to see them alive now. Or live now.
What would you do? Kill them?
Yeah. No, never get to see them in concert
man.
now.
That hurts. Anyways, this isn't a Daft Punk review. That'll come at some point. And it shows. I mean, Daft Punk in 97 is an interesting, more house. So he's listening to a lot of house, and there's a lot of different sound and funk and groove and all that. And you can feel that in this album. That you're right. It is different. It takes influences from somewhere other than thrash metal.
Yep.
And it's terrible for it. It's worse for it. I wish he would have just wrote some just generic riffs, got some pig squealing motherfucker in the back, and just slapped an Annihilator on it and sent it out. It would have been better than whatever this just was. Dude, if the dude would have just pig squealed for the 49, how long? 48 minutes. Well, that was a good guess. Dude, I would have put this as a C, because at least it would have been vocally different. I did not like this album. I don't even know the only reason I can see the songs is because they're over there on my monitor.
Yep.
I couldn't tell you a single song on this album otherwise.
I can. No, just
I mean, dude, I think there's another album that I have a D on. Well, this is in the class of its own on Annihilator albums. I just did not
like it.
I didn't like it. I'm pretty sure I zoned out somewhere between Never and Tricks and Traps.
Okay.
And Tricks and Traps was only weird because the chorus is weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, enough shitting on Remains. There's remaining albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, next one. Next one's Criteria for Black Widow, which is interesting because I think they take kind of they're still in kind of hiatus. Like, Annihilator isn't back. It's Jeff Waters doing some things. And I was reading, I think it's 90. This is 98, right? Yeah, 98.
Yeah.
98, he sees Slayer in concert. And he thinks, hey, let me get back into the group. So he sees Slayer and he calls up the original band from Alice in Hell.
Yep.
Gets them, except for the bassist who was having some health problems, gets them back. And the vocalist is back, so I give it a C because, dear God, I just can't stand original vocals.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a solid comeback to the thrash sound. Thrash sound, though. Ugh, tongue twister there.
Yep.
But once again, man, nothing just stands out for me in this album.
Okay.
There's going to be a whole stretch where just nothing to Annihilator stands out.
Just stands out, yeah.
Third point I made. Still do not care for this singer. And I don't know. Sometimes. Okay, so this is a C in a different version than Alice in Hell to me is a C. Yep. One would be like a C plus, one would be a C minus. And I put this down that sometimes getting the original band back together just doesn't capture the magic that you had with the first one, right?
Yeah.
Because you're trying to capture the magic, and it's not the same.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I feel this album is. Like, you can make an album that could sound like Alice in Hell, and I think that's what they did.
Yep.
But you can't capture the same level of magic. And that's what I think you get like with a lot of bands when you get that reunion thing. Like, even bands that didn't have an entire small town's worth of people that have played on their band.
Yeah.
Even if the band had only 4 members and they got back together, they're still going to try to create their earlier sound because that's what made them famous. But you're never going to be able to do it.
Yeah, you're never going to be able to recreate what it was like at that time, especially with how much time has passed between this album and their debut album.
And so, to me, and not really segueing, kind of going off to another topic of fans, right? Like video games. Like, when I was reading about the Mass Effect trilogy that's coming up, if we want to date this podcast for anybody, the remake, they were talking about the first one where they didn't want to do it too much because the code was kind of wonky because it's an older game, it's an 07, and they were talking about how they could redo it, but they would lose some of the magic, like the original programs, to put in there. And I think that's kind of what you do in music when you get somebody back together, because it feels less like artists trying to make it and more artists trying to make a quick buck, right? It's not I'm not saying that's what Annihilator did.
But yeah, I know what you're saying, like putting the headline out there, like original lineup or this lineup for this album is back together. You know?
I mean, we're also the people that drove 6 hours to go see Megadeth because David Ellison rejoined the band.
That is true. We had to see him.
So
yeah,
we are guilty of this.
And
like I said, that doesn't mean the album can't be good. But again, if they would have brought back another vocalist or just had Jeff Waters singing it, it would have been higher for me.
Yeah. So I gave this album a B. I thought it was a pretty solid album.
Yeah.
I really liked the first song, Bloodbath. That was just brutal return to, thrash metal.
That
just
was like great opening.
Yeah, they came in and they were like, we want to let you know what Annihilator's about, and that's what Bloodbath is. I thought it was a great song. I really liked the production, like the way it sounded, the more old school.
Yeah.
Sounded like raw.
I definitely see why Jeff Waters is a sought after.
Yeah.
Like production person.
Yep. I really like the sound on this album. Thought it was definitely old school thrash. Mm-hmm. I do have to mention though, the album artwork for this one. Oh, I don't know what was going on with that, but that was pretty cringy.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's not Iron Maiden Dance of Death bad.
Okay, that's
which still to me it might be my favorite all-time artwork.
Oh my gosh.
Although the first Megadeth album, the original cover is pretty bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, they only had a budget of like $100 to create that whole album.
I'm pretty sure it was $14,000 to start with, and then the drugs cost $13,900.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I really like this album because it was a return to the thrash sound.
Yeah, no, for sure.
They did bring a lot of the original members back, and I think it was think it was good. I think they did a good job. I really liked Bloodbath. I liked Punctured, and I liked Sonic Homicide. Those are my 3 songs that I really liked. But I did not like the title track, Criteria for a Black Widow. That song was
that song was
kind of is okay, you know. It's kind of weird, and it was kind of like doom metal-y, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the 7,000 different subgenres of metal.
Yep.
I mean, not to interrupt. There's a few things that I wrote on this that are kind of trends of what's coming up. One that, man, some of these albums just kind of start to blend together.
Yeah.
This was the start of that for me. And this album is way too long.
Really?
How long is this album? Bro, this album felt like it could have been 2 hours.
This album came in at 50 minutes.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I ain't trying to listen to like 25 songs in 15 minutes.
Fair enough.
But I don't know. This problem, I mean, we talk about this a lot too, like how long I kind of dislike longer songs.
Yeah.
Which is kind of true and kind of isn't. Like,
yeah.
Rime of the Ancient Mariner, one of my top Iron Maiden songs.
Yep.
That shit is 13 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Shogun, Trivium, great song, 11 minutes. Half of Machine Head's discography.
Oh, God. It's at least 9-minute minimum, you know?
But for what I hear, what I have a problem with a lot of these songs that come up that are long, because a lot of Annihilator songs start to get in the 5-minute range coming up from here. Yep. The earlier ones were kind of shorter. They were like 39 minutes, 40 minutes out, 45-minute albums. There's just not enough change in the song to justify like another 2 minutes. Yeah. It's just there's not enough transitions or different sounding things. Yeah. I just feel like I'm listening to the same riff for like a while. Or the same chorus. Like, again, Iron Maiden also has long songs, right?
But they keep it fresh.
Iron Maiden, yeah. But like the parts where Bruce Dickinson doesn't sing for a while are some of the best parts of the song, not because Bruce Dickinson's a bad singer, but because they're able to like transition and do different things and, you know, just the balance of things. Whereas I feel like in a lot of Annihilator songs that are long, you don't get that. It's just him chugging along on a riff, which is great. I mean, that's what thrash metal is, right? And I always kind of thought I was a bigger thrash metal fan. I don't know. Listen to this. Maybe realize maybe I'm not as big a thrash metal fan.
Yeah.
And I like a little more variety. Just albums of straight thrash metal.
Yep.
Are kind of rough.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I don't necessarily like just listening to pounding thrash, you know, for 50 minutes straight, you know. Sometimes, you know, if you're in a mood for it, you know, it's definitely okay. But I like albums with a little bit of variety in them. You know, some that change it up a little bit.
Because, I don't know. I mean, we'll find this out later. We talked about this at work a little bit where we didn't try to spoil it. And we'll find this out as we go. But, man, I really was, like, struggling to write some things for some of the later albums because, one, I was just things I'd already wrote here. And there just isn't a whole lot of change coming up, I don't think. Which is not bad. But, I mean, the next album.
So, the next album, 2001, Carnival Diablos. Now, this was the hardest album for me to rank.
Really? I didn't find that.
I put it as an S tier album.
Ooh.
So when I say S tier, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean I have to love every song. Mm-hmm. But in this album, I love every song except for the first song.
Okay. Let's before we get into other albums, what would you put as other S tier albums for you?
Other S tier albums for me?
Yeah.
Rust in Peace, Megadeth.
Fair enough.
Boston's first album. Really love that. I would say like obviously Master Puppets, you know, fantastic album. What about you? What would you?
Ooh, I mean, I'm going to go. I mean, this one shouldn't be a surprise if you know me. Random Access Memories with Daft Punk is by far the greatest album ever released. Madman Across the Water, Elton John. Great album. And then, I mean, just keep it simple. Keep it 3. I mean, there's so many we go, right? We could have a whole topic about that.
Yeah.
You know, probably just Peace Sells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I did want to say I'd like remembered it right before I passed it over to you, but I want to say Van Halen, the first album, their debut album.
Man, that intro.
I know.
Oh.
I think that is top tier.
We're going to have to get to Van Halen someday.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is what I love about this project, right? Like now I'm listening to bands of like all kinds of genres. I'm like, ooh, man, I'd like to get this. What does Aurelio think about that?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like, man, we should do that album. Or this artist or this artist.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just so much room to go with this, and I look forward to where we go with it. But
yeah. So yeah, like this was seriously the first album. Like the first song came on, I was like, okay, we're gonna get another, kind of thrashy album, and then all of a sudden it changed, and I loved every song on the way down to the end of the album.
Perfect.
I listened to each one. I was like, this is good. I like this. Next one just as good. Next one just as good. And I was really surprised. I didn't think from all the previous albums, you like a couple songs here and there. This is complete surprise that I liked almost every song. I mean, I'm not saying the first song is bad.
No.
It's just
when you have a bunch of great songs.
Yeah, I think it is the weakest track on the album. And I thought it was going to be kind of an average album when I first heard it. I thought it was heavier than a lot of the albums in the past, like more heavy metal focused.
Really?
Rather than like thrash necessarily.
Yeah, okay. I go what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved every song on this album but the intro.
Is this Jeff Waters vocally?
Let me check.
No, it's not, right? This is somebody else.
This is Joe Camus.
Yeah.
He is the ex-vocalist for Overkill, I believe. Yeah, Overkill.
Okay, so I gave this album a B.
Okay.
And I only asked because one of my things on here was the singer's pretty good. I liked him more than the other vocalists that aren't Jeff Waters. Then I was like, shoot, was it Jeff Waters? Because you never know on Annihilator.
Yeah.
Could just all of a sudden be, hey, it's Jeff Waters. See, I had this album as a B, and I had this as a pretty solid hard rock / groove metal album.
Yep.
Again, not thrash metal like you said, we touched on.
Yeah.
I like the change in pace and the songwriting from the previous songs. Epic of War and Carnival Diablos highlights the album off for me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Carnival Diablos and Battered were actually my two. I couldn't really choose, like my top three. So I chose those two, and then I would say everything other than the first song.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's great. Again, that was pretty long.
Yeah. It's I think it's 58 minutes, so it's quite long.
I think from here on out, there's anything less than 50 is kind of rare.
Yep.
And anything that's like less than 50 is like 48, 49.
Yeah, really close.
To me, the reason I didn't bump this up to an A is because I liked a lot of the songs, but I didn't love a lot of the songs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like if we were going somewhere and you put Carnival down, yeah, okay, cool, let's crush it out.
Mm-hmm.
But it just didn't have enough to bump it up to an A.
Yeah.
Great album, just I'd put it like a B+.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all I got for this album. Great album.
Yeah, I thought fantastic album.
So what do we got? Wake in the Fury next?
Yep.
Wake in the Fury. This is another B for me.
B, okay.
My first note on this, why is every album on this song 5 minutes plus? Again, vocals, solid. Enjoyed them. A lot of my high tier things do the vocals sound good?
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah. Which is weird for, being a metal fan.
Yeah.
I don't really look at the vocals that much.
Yeah, it's mostly about the instruments, but a good vocalist can, make or break a band,
Yeah, and I don't know. I've always been a more vocal guy. But I do put on here, guitar work really stands out on this album to me.
Yep.
It was good. Riffs, great. Power, great. Hooks, great. Everything great.
Yeah.
I mean, I see why Jeff Waters is a huge inspiration to a lot of people and why he's criminally underrated. It's just his overall, band that I think is what holds him back. Because, I don't know. I didn't look anything into this, and I wouldn't doubt it. But I heard somebody talking about, Dave wanted him for Megadeth.
Yeah.
But again, Dave surrounds himself with great art, which is kind of different. Because to me, I see similarities in here in Dave and Jeff, right?
Yep.
Like they both write for most of the things. I know Dave talks about how he doesn't play drums, but he can write drums.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he writes. Maybe Allison writes some of the bass, but I'm sure he writes both.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the difference here is that Dave surrounds himself with great players.
Yep.
And Jeff surrounds himself with Jeff and like a drummer.
Yeah.
And not
Or
anything
session
great,
musicians, you know.
but I can see like for both being like really great guitarists, how one bumps you up to like that next level.
Yep.
Right. And like I said, if Jeff has more going in the back as like a producer and all that, he doesn't have to really worry about that.
Yeah.
I also didn't write a lot, so I'm kind of like stalling for time. To me, it's songs that stand out. Striker. That's about it. Had great riffs. They chug down the song. I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, just solid album.
Yeah. I personally I gave it like a C minus. And the main reason was because I really didn't like the way it sounded.
Like
it was production wise,
Yeah.
yes. So I definitely agree that the instrumentals on here, you know, very technical. You know, I really liked the playing on this album, but I was not a fan of some of the vocals on some of the songs, and the way everything just kind of sounded grainy, like it really, like the gain on it was way too high or something. I'm not really sure, but that was the biggest reason why I put it so low. I think if they had different production value on here, I would definitely give it a B, maybe even like an A.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was a really, really good album. It's just I didn't like the way it sounded.
No, that's fair. I mean, yeah. I can see where you're coming from on that one. I don't know. What do we got next?
All right, next.
Speed run this, you know.
Yeah, next album here is All For You from, let's see, 2004. So this kind of was an interesting album. I gave it a C. It was definitely another change in, you know, what style of music they play for Annihilator. They kind of switch between, you know, heavy metal, thrash metal, speed metal, but this one was kind of more heavy metal.
Yeah, I found that too.
Yeah, which isn't bad. It was more melodic in some cases, which I liked. But I just really didn't have a lot of songs on here that I felt stood out, you know?
That's fair.
Yeah. I did like the songs Dr. Psycho. I thought that was kind of a fun song.
Yeah, that was kind of a fun song.
Yeah.
The chorus was fun.
Yeah. And the one was...
This is the Dave Padden era, right? This is the start of the Dave Padden era.
Yep.
Which is kind of looked back by Annihilator fans, I noticed. Not in a great light.
No, it's not.
Yeah, maybe it's because I don't know. I didn't think he was that bad, but we'll touch on that.
I felt like he's more like a metalcore vocalist.
Yeah, because what year is this again, you say?
2004.
Yeah, so this started. Yeah, so he fits into what at this time would be
like new metal, metalcore and stuff like that. Yeah.
But he was the vocalist for a long time. I think
for
like
3
a decade.
Yeah,
it's 3 albums, but
yeah,
because I think he quits in 2014.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else you got?
I mean, my least favorite song on here was Bled. I just thought it was kind of
Yeah, that's fair.
Just an average song, you know, not bad, not really great, but no. What did you think of this album?
The album? I gave it a C, and then I put a question mark.
Okay. Why is that?
It's not because I think it's a C to a B. I think it's a C to a D.
Okay.
And half of my notes are about one song.
What song?
Demon Dance. It is literally my first note is Demon Dance is a song that exists. And it's funny because we're talking about like 2004, because to me Demon Dance, the vocals sound a lot like a ripoff of System of a Down.
Yep.
Yeah, like the chorus sounds exactly like half of the System of a Down songs. The heaviness of this album though, killer.
Yep.
So I've been waiting. Honestly, this album is one that I've been waiting to get to talk about. Okay. Because of the first song. So the very first song, right, it's got to be the first Annihilator song is that feature harsh growls, right?
Yep.
Screams, like metal screams that started to take popular around this time. I mean, again, other bands, Death, kind of created that, and there's still bands, but It gets real popular in
Mm-hmm.
the 2000s. The first song, the vocal patterns. Honestly, it sounds like Jeff Waters called this dude up and he's like, "Yo, I need a singer." He's like, "Yeah, screams are real big." "Oh, no, for sure I can do that." And he's like, hangs up and he's like, "Shit, I don't know how to do that." And it's like he went in the mirror and practiced how to do screaming vocals, and like went to the studio the next day, and just the cadence he has, and the way he screams them, makes me sound like obviously he knows how to scream and he can do all that because he shows that later. But that first song, just his cadence with his screams, sounds like just anybody trying to learn to scream.
Yeah.
It sounds like anybody trying to learn to rap a bit too, just the way like the cadence goes. It was so funny to me. I remember just kind of laughing. I listened to it like,
Yeah.
hey, how to metal scream 101, like something you would find on the YouTube channel where
Right.
somebody breaks it down in slow
WikiHow
motion
or something.
Yeah,
I
don't know. This album was just like I don't know. The vocals weren't good,
Yeah.
which is weird because I don't mind Dave Paddington. I know he's not looked down. But I don't know. This album was so weird to me. Like, there wasn't anything good about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of bad. It was really bad in spots.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing that saved it from being a D was that the spots that weren't bad
We're pretty good.
were pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next we've got what we got?
Schizo Deluxe.
Schizo Deluxe, baby.
2005.
2005. So I gave this album. I gave this an A.
Really?
I gave this an A. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, like I said.
Yeah.
I don't hate the Dave Patton era. Again, maybe it's just because we're not big Annihilator fans,
Mm-hmm.
I think he was a great vocalist for the time and the sound they were trying to do. I put here too. I didn't enjoy his vocals on the last album.
Yep.
But here, I think they're a perfect fit.
Yeah.
It's like they came in and he already had on the last album. He already had the songs written, and Patton had to figure out how to like put them together. Like no non-negotiable. Sing to these. Where Sound and Leaks this album, they did them together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's how they did it, but that's what made it sound like to me. This is kind of less of a thrash metal album.
Yeah.
It's more just a heavy metal album.
Yeah, just heavy metal, and I think that's with this era.
Yeah.
Of Annihilator, they definitely shy away from the thrash.
To me, a lot of the reason I gave this an A is I think this has some of the best instrumentals of any of Annihilator's album.
Okay.
I think the guitar work and like the song Pride was just killer.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that thing just ripped. And some of the choruses for once
Pretty good.
were pretty good. Like a song like Father Like Gun. I don't know what the song's about, but the chorus, man,
Yeah.
I think you killed it. Warbird is the standout song of this album for me.
Yep. That was actually one of my favorite songs of this album.
Plasma Zombies felt like a personal attack. I felt personally attacked after I listened to that album. It was a song about people who just waste their lives playing video games. I was like, man, fuck you, Jeff Waters.
Right. Why you gotta tag
Yeah.
me like that?
Man, I listened to like 37 straight albums to get to this point, and then you're gonna personally attack me? Come on, man.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just an overall sound of the album.
Yeah.
Again, not songs I'd add to my playlist, but songs I thought were good.
Yeah.
If they came up on a pre-generated playlist, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's a great
I
Annihilator
can remember this song. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, still Plasma Zombies. God damn. He had to do me like that.
I know. Hey man,
Here
sometimes
I am shouting out his band on this podcast with like 2 listeners, but hey, you can do me like that.
So I gave this album a C. I mean,
Ooh.
I didn't necessarily think it was like a bad album. It was just kind of okay, I really did like Warbird.
Mhm.
I thought Plasma Zombies was, kind of a fun song because of the lyrics,
Right.
So that was one of the highlights on the album. But it is, a heavy album.
Yeah.
The instrumentals were really good on this album. But I just nothing really clicked with me too much.
That's fair, yeah.
I did, like you were saying, I think Pride was a good song, but I really didn't like, what was it? Like Father Like Gun, or, yeah.
Yeah.
I just wasn't, I wasn't a fan of the chorus,
Yeah, which is fair. I honestly didn't like any of the rest of the song.
Yeah.
Of course. Not bad.
Yeah.
For Annihilator isn't a band of chorus, and I think even Jeff Waters touched on, which is weird because he doesn't give a lot of interviews where he's like, they want me to write catchy choruses, and I'm like, really, Jeff Waters? Does anybody want Annihilator to have catchy choruses?
Yeah,
like,
do they want you to write more ballads and pops?
Like, what songs are we talking about that has catchy commercial choruses? Because, man, I kind of want to listen to those.
Yeah.
maybe people are calling for you to write them, not more. Just write them.
Yep.
But
so yeah, I mean, I thought it was a pretty decent album.
Yeah.
Check it out if you're a fan of heavy metal.
Yeah, if you're just looking for a solid heavy metal album.
Yeah. That's
not like one of the bigger names. Man, this album right up there.
Now on those lists that I was looking at,
yeah.
Of what other people thought, this was in their top 5
of
fair. Annihilator albums, and I can understand why. It just personally, I didn't see anything too standoutish about it. So
honestly, you know what? After listening to all his albums, being a fan of Annihilator, if you were like a big fan, and you kept up with them the whole career, and you were like waiting for the next album, man, that would just feel like such a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Like, is it just gonna be Jeff? Is he gonna have other people? How good's this album gonna be? And then you get an album and you're like, oh God, what is this? And you're like, man, I waited. Well, I mean, honestly, you don't have to wait that long for Annihilator albums. Apparently, there's not that big of a difference.
Couple years.
But man, it's just I could just imagine being the crapshoot. Like, oh man, here we go. Oh God, oh, what is this?
Yeah,
this is a song about macaroni and cheese.
Yeah,
But anyways, what do we got next?
So next album, Metal.
Oh man,
just straight to the point. This
man,
is like pure metal.
How long you think it took him to come up with that? Like, man, should I call this? No, not aluminum. Tin? No, not tin.
Just metal.
Copper? Oh man, what are all those? Oh, they're all metal. Oh, I play metal.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. We'll call it metal.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I think it's straight to the point at what this album is. I gave it a C. It's just one of those albums that it's not bad, but it's also not like standoutish. I wouldn't want to put this in my CD player, which I don't have anymore, but I wouldn't want to binge this album, and just be like, yeah, I need to listen to, the songs because they're all good, flow together or whatever. I mean, it's, just heavy metal again. Solid album. I think instruments were really good. I think it did sound, I like the way it sounded. It's kind of weird because I think it was a little muddy in some areas, but
yeah, that's fair.
My favorite songs on this album were Army of One, Smothered, and Clown Parade.
Army of One made me laugh just because it was like the biggest shout out to other metal bands.
Yeah. Right? We're all metalheads and we're all in it together.
I'm also a metal band. Please, somebody include me in their song.
Right? Please include me. I didn't like Operation Annihilation.
It's not the worst album title. Or not album title, song title.
Yeah.
Well, that's coming up, but it's not a great.
Yeah. I don't know. This album was, if you want something to just listen to in the background or something, it's a decent album.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I also gave this album a C. And I honestly just kind of said this was just kind of a forgettable album. I think the main big selling point of this album to me is just the number of guest stars they had on this.
Yeah.
Like, what are you this again?
2007.
2007. First off, one of them is Corey Below from Trivium in 2007.
Is it really?
Yeah. He's like 17 at this point. Maybe not, but he's pretty young.
Oh,
but wow. I mean, we're talking like big name artists.
Yeah, we got people from Arch Enemy, Anvil, Children of Bodom, In Flames. Yeah, Corey from Trivium, Lamb of God.
Yeah, I mean,
got members from a lot of albums. Definitely.
I
didn't realize that.
This definitely shows you why like not every supergroup is gonna hit, because he had some stars, some like just guitar stars to play with him.
Yep.
And he still turned into a forgettable album. Like, and I agree with you. I put that this album, it's not bad, it's not good. It's a heavy. It's a metal album.
Yeah, just a standard.
I mean, again, this album is really long for a really forgettable album.
Yeah, I think it was 59 minutes.
Dude, it's just like, I mean, too, I had solid
54.
playing, sometimes solid vocals.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Just it's not an album I'm gonna put on and go.
Just let's groove to this.
Yeah,
you know?
let's groove to this. It's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just
Pretty okay album here.
So we gave a joke that metal was kind of a, hard to come up with name. The next album might have been even easier.
I don't know, man. This one might have taken a little while to really.
Look, I think the metal album maybe took him 10 seconds. I think this one maybe took him 5. He spent half the time on that.
Yeah, well, next album is Annihilator by Annihilator, 2010. I thought this was a C album, Thought it had really high production values. I really liked that. A lot of the instruments really clean. You could hear them really well. I just thought it was, okay.
I'm gonna guess you're kind of like me, and you didn't have a whole lot written down about this album.
Yeah, This is kind of where the albums all kind of
blend together,
and I struggled trying to give varying ratings.
Yeah, no, for sure. I ran on that too.
Yeah. I did like my favorite songs on this album were Romeo Delight and The Trend.
Yeah.
I didn't like Payback. I just thought the lyrics were kind of a little forced. But it's a okay album. It was kind of forgettable,
Yeah. I gave this one a little more favorable. I gave it a B.
Okay.
Because it was just a solid heavy metal album.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no lowlights. There's really no highlights either.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, this album though, this is just Annihilator doing what Annihilator does best on the album Annihilator.
Yeah.
The only thing I think they could have did better is not wasted the Annihilator song on King of the Kill and saved it till they made an album called Annihilator. So we could have had like a Bad Company thing going on where you got the song Bad Company by Bad Company on the Bad Company.
Yeah.
Or other one, Hell Yeah by Hell Yeah on the Hell Yeah album.
Shout out to Hell Yeah.
Shout out to Rip Vinnie Paul. Another band we'll have to get to. Them, Mudman. Man, it was for years at this rate how many bands we got to get to.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You're right, though. This is kind of the part where I had to say it because he's not mailing it in. But it's just like, hey, now they're still a band. I got time to write.
Yeah.
Let's keep putting albums out. We'll keep touring behind them. Because it sounds like, because Padden quits due to a pretty rigorous touring schedule.
Yep.
And it sounds like they're not just touring in the U.S. They're touring
around the world.
I mean, yeah, Europe, Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Asia.
Everywhere.
China. Not North America, apparently. So, man, I mean, if you're based out of Canada and your family's around, I can,
Yeah.
But, if he's just churning out albums to tour, hey.
Mm-hmm.
More power to him, man. The man can kill it.
Yeah, he knows how to play.
But you're right. These albums just kind of start like blending together.
Going through this discography, I'm kind of wondering if I myself am as big a metal fan, as I claim to be.
I said that too.
Yeah, I really do love metal. But there's just some metal out there that you listen to and other people think it's great, and you're just kind of like, it's okay, just doesn't sit with you.
I know we both kind of said this too when we were like binging through the albums, where it was like, we could only do 2, maybe 3 a day, because they're just, not even 3 half the time, just because you needed, I don't know, I needed variety. I needed to hear some non-metal.
Yeah.
And metal has this weird thing. I don't know if many other, I'm a big hip-hop fan, this might happen. But metalheads, man, it's like it's metal or death,
Yeah,
and
like
then it gets
can't have anything else,
right?
But.
Then it gets even worse because then you start getting into like the subgenres, like it's thrash metal or death metal or death,
yep,
black metal or death, pirate metal or death,
yeah,
and pirate metal is a real thing, by the way. But I don't know. I need more variety. You're right. This got me wondering, am I as big a metal fan as I think I am?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just more like maybe us in high school. Would we predominantly listen to metal? Yeah.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I don't know. I just need more variety, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And definitely going through these albums, especially once the 2000 era hits, it's just straight metal. There's not a lot of songs of variety.
Right.
So that's why listening to a lot of these was kind of difficult. Just, listening to them straight through. At least for, me, it seems like you feel the same way. Need that variety.
Yeah, because after Annihilator, we get Feast, right?
Yeah. Next album is Feast. From 2013. I
mean, you want to take this?
Yeah, I gave this album a C+. I thought it was better than the last two. The only reason why I didn't give it a B or higher is because, it's just kind of more the same.
Yeah.
But I did like it more than the other two. Sorry. My least favorite song on this was Perfect Angel Eyes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would agree with that. It just kind of seemed like a forced ballad. They're like, we need to put a ballad in here. All right. The singer didn't sound too enthusiastic about it. I don't know.
Is this the last album?
Yeah. With
Padden?
I believe so.
Have I just been butchering his name? Is that how you say it?
Dave Padden.
Okay, good. Because part of me, like, halfway through was like, I think I'm butchering this dude's name. And then I was like, I am committed to saying it this way. No, I agree with you. You're taking this album. I gave it a C, too.
Yeah.
And it's nothing new. Why? I mean, I've said this by the past few albums. It's just kind of a boring album. There's no highlights. There's no lowlights. It's just Annihilator sticking to what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And on my last note is it's starting to feel like they just release an album every few years to let you know that, hey,
we're still alive.
We're still alive. It's been 20 years. We haven't OD'd yet.
Yeah.
Come see us at, the big day out in Australia where we'll be playing the 7th stage, which is, right next to Porta Potties in the parking lot. No, just kidding. They're a big band somewhere in the world. I don't know, man. I think there's one more album I give for good review, but a lot of there's only 2 albums left, I think, anyways. We're pretty much at the
3
end.
albums
Three
left.
albums left.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think my ranking here got messed up.
Yeah, I like some of the songs on here, but nothing really that I want to add to a playlist and be like, I love this song,
Yeah. That's kind of, what do we got to say about that? Touched on it, right? Like,
yeah.
a lot of the same again.
Just a, average, okay album.
And that honestly transitions right into the next album, which is, Suicide Society.
Yeah.
Again, C. Again, nothing new or exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Last song is pretty good, but I kind of wonder if that's just because it was different.
Yeah.
It was a little bit, what's the name of that one again? I didn't write it down. The last song on the album.
Every Minute.
Yeah, again, I'd have to go back and listen to it, but I honestly, like I said, I put in my notes. Mine just kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it was 30 songs in a row of just Annihilator playing metal.
Yeah.
But again, if you're a big Annihilator fan, you love them because that's what they do.
Want to just listen to some straight metal,
Yeah. Again, C.
Yeah. That's also what I gave this album. The C is, just okay. I really didn't have anything that stood out. Intro song was, standard Annihilator intro for most of their albums, heavy, hard hitting. But I don't have a lot to say about this album. It's just, okay, it's kind of forgettable.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's all I really need to say about that album. Honestly, that could have been, the last few albums could have just been a 3 CD set.
Yeah, I could see that. Because they all kind of blend together,
Yeah. All right, moving on then. What's the next album we got?
Yeah, for the next album is For the Demented.
What'd you give it?
I gave this album a C.
Ooh.
It was okay. It was a little change up compared to the last one because I believe they hired more musicians for this because the last album was all a Jeff Waters album again.
Yeah.
And this one
brings Waters back to vocals too.
Yep, which I did like.
Yeah.
I think he did a great job on vocals in this album. But, it was just okay. I like Twist the Lobotomy, the first song. Thought that was a great opening to the album. Kind of set the groundwork for some of the songs, but there were some of the other songs that were more hard rocky. But I didn't think it was that bad, but
no. Kind of it.
Yeah.
I gave this album an A.
An A.
An A.
Okay.
And if you kind of look back, you'll notice the trend that anything that Waters sings on, for the most part, Suicide Society. No, Suicide Society. He sings on Suicide Society, so he's back for an album.
Yeah.
Anyways, with the ones with Waters on him singing, to me, it's gonna find a higher grade.
Mm-hmm.
Pieces of You. Man, I thought that song was good. Everything was tight and it flowed.
Yep.
And yeah, I put down. I think Annihilator's at its best when Waters is singing.
I can agree with you.
I just think he blends in, and I think it's easier for him to write songs that fit his vocal pattern than it is to fit in someone else.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, it's pretty much just his band.
Yeah.
He is the sole member that's been through it this entire time.
Right. The only consistent.
Yeah, the only consistent member. So
I also put down that Altering the Altar is an amazing tier song name.
Yeah.
Because it's terrible. It's just, really? Altering the Altar?
Altering the Altar.
Like, I did allude to this earlier where I was like, Operation Annihilation. Not the worst song name.
Yeah.
This is the worst song name.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
He's altering the altar, man. The altar is being altered.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, it's just a solid album to me.
Yeah.
It just grooved.
Mm-hmm.
It did a lot of things that the latest ones didn't do. They didn't really groove that well to each other.
Yeah.
This one I thought did.
Yeah.
Just solid album.
Mm-hmm.
Last album, right?
Yeah. Last album, 2020.
We have made it. 30 years almost.
A lot of history in this.
A lot of forgettable songs.
Yeah, a lot of forgettable albums.
So we came up with this idea. What? Well, we came up with it for a while. We were sitting on it for a bit.
Yeah.
Well, we finally picked an artist like 2 weeks ago. And it took us 2 weeks to get through 17 albums.
Yeah.
So, man, this really does feel like the end of a journey.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a letdown with how bad the album name is.
Ballistic Sadistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what?
And what was an even bigger letdown was the album.
Oh.
Which I gave a C.
Okay.
The Attitude, man, it's just a rough song.
The Attitude.
Attitude.
Yeah.
It sounded like every metal fan that you see at a show with an Affliction t-shirt on.
Just wants to fight somebody.
Wants to fight somebody.
I'm going to punch you because you looked at me wrong.
It honestly looks like it's fan service to like the hardcore dudes that go to metal. So it's just like, the lyrics are rough.
Yeah.
And, I touched on this earlier. That, King Jumps Queen? Yeah.
Yeah, Night Jumps
Queen is not a great lyrically song, but it is not Annihilator's cringiest song, lyric-wise. That is on this album.
Okay, what song?
Lip Service. It's just a song of sexual innuendos.
Yes.
Non-stop for like 5 minutes.
Yep.
It was just rough. And again, nothing just stands out for me. It's just another Annihilator. It's just another post-2010 Annihilator album.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What'd you give it?
So personally, I really like this album. I wanted to give it an A, but I would give it a B+.
Okay.
I gave it a B+. And it's weird because you listen to the past couple albums, some of them are just straight thrash, which is what this album is. It's just straight thrash metal. But for some reason, listening to it, I really got into it, with a lot of these songs. I was like, this is just good old fashioned, metal. There's just something about the way it sounded, some of these songs. So, yeah, I really like this album. I was surprised because it's their most recent release. I was expecting more of what they've previously released the past couple albums. So I was ready to kind of be let down, just be like another average album. But I really liked it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, some of the lyrics were a little cringy.
Yeah.
But, like Lip Service lyrics were cringy, but I really liked, the bass line in it.
Okay, that's fair. You can find your silver lining in
Yeah, I thought it
rough songs.
grooved pretty well, and I thought it was a pretty solid album. Better than what they've put out in the past couple of years, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that's all the albums, right, at this point? So, I know we really didn't write this down, but overall, if you had to look back, as a whole, Annihilator, what would you, on a D to S scale, what would you give that band?
What would I give the band?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a curveball. We didn't talk about this. We only talked about doing the albums.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of worth going back, like, looking at it as a whole, because we looked at the pieces of it, right? Like, looked at the pieces of the pie, but at the end, you can have a few good pies, but if you eat the whole thing, you get those pieces that aren't that great.
Yes.
Sugar's uneven, you get the really sugary one.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you think as like a band?
I do like Annihilator. I think they have a lot of good songs. Yeah. There were just too many forgettable albums, in my opinion. I would give them a solid like C+. I'm not saying they're terrible. I think Jeff Waters is one of the best guitarists that I've heard.
Yeah, no, I was blown away by that. Just how good he is, and kind of how I hadn't ever heard of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these albums, they had great musicianship. Just some of the songs, a lot of the songs just seem kind of generic and uninspired,
Yeah.
But overall, they're not terrible, I definitely recommend people checking them out if you're a metal fan.
Yeah. Maybe do a little research. You find, the songs you like. There's a lot of water to wade through.
Yeah, there's a lot of albums here, a lot of history, a lot of time you have to dedicate.
Yeah.
But
because the albums are way too long. Personal opinion. Yeah. Don't tag me for my personal opinion, man. No, I agree.
Well, what would you give Annihilator as a band?
It's you give them a C+. I'm just gonna give them just a C. Just a C. Again, great metal band. I see though why they are like a tier 2 metal band, right? Like they have the staying power because he's a really good musician. He's inspired a lot of people, so their album stays. The first 2 albums, don't even talk to me about the third album, were really good. But it just wasn't enough. Vocally, outside of the Jeff Waters albums, it just didn't do it for me. And we touched on this, made me kind of wonder, do we like metal as much as we do?
Yep.
Really made me question if I was as big a thrash metal as I think. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't want to knock on them. Maybe it's just me exploring more what I want.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. If they came around and it was just Annihilator headlining, I probably wouldn't go on my way to go see them. Wouldn't have seen Testament, made up, and they were with them. I'd be kind of excited as an opening act. Yeah. Because I know I'm not going to have to listen to it.
I mean, even as a second act.
Right.
As a headliner though, unless they were headlining with some other bands that we really liked,
Even then, I don't know if I want to sit through an hour and a half set list of Annihilator.
That's fair. Yeah.
But I mean, again, if it's a huge band we want to see.
Yeah.
I was going to say Slayer, but they're not doing anymore.
Yeah.
We did get to see them, though.
We did get to see them on their last tour.
Yeah. Good show. Long show. But I digress. This isn't a Slayer podcast.
Yeah.
Again, we'll get to that eventually. No, I don't know. Just, like, again, I see why he's an icon. I see why he's inspired so many artists since then.
Yep.
This band just really didn't do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. And, I was telling you that, too, over the week. It's like, it has its moments, but overall, not a band I'm going to come back to that at all, probably.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be stay-list material or anything.
Yeah.
But I think, it was a great start to this podcast. That I had a lot of fun doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did too.
Hearing your opinions. It was fun when we had different opinions, but still the same thing. Came back to a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I look forward to checking out our next band, which we'll have to decide after this. So, no spoilers. You have to check in for the next one.
Yeah. Roll of the dice.
I think I'm going to pick mine. I think I got an idea.
Oh, okay.
Well, we'll get on that after we're done. No, I don't know. I mean, any other closing words you want to put on this?
No, I mean if you love metal, I would definitely say check Annihilator out if you haven't heard of them. Definitely a band that I think if they keep on the same path, at least in my opinion, with Ballistic Sadistic, I think their next album will be just as good.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be little bit better.
Honestly, I think Annihilator is going to be releasing albums 30 years after the universe heat tests itself out of here. So, I mean, man, don't feel like you're behind on the times of Annihilator. Because, before you know it, you're going to be 40 albums in, and there's 17 albums before the 40 albums when you start listening to. No, I mean, a great band. Yeah, you're a metal fan, check them out.
Yeah.
Check out the first 2 albums. And, everything's great about them. I mean, again, better vocals, I put them higher. A lot of highlights. Lowlights just as frequent. It's hit or miss. But yeah, definitely, like you said, check them out.
Yeah.
So I mean, unless you got any other words, but it doesn't sound like it. This can kind of be the end of this run.
Yeah.
Had fun. I ran for an hour 30. Yeah, check us out. We're gonna upload this, Spotify. We'll try to do this every week if we can find time.
Yeah.
Like I said, next band won't be 17 albums. It'll be a little shorter.
Yeah, maybe can go a little more into each.
Yeah, we can have time to listen to more. So yeah, check us out if you like it.
Please leave any feedback or
check
things
us out.
that you might
Some more. Yeah, that's it, man. Hey, thanks for listening. If you stuck through for the whole hour and 30 minutes, love to hear from you. Like I said, some feedback. I'm Andy. He's Aurelio. This is our album podcast, Albumholics. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, have a great day.